Will you survive this Cold War winter storm? Hello, Literary Rose here with I Dream of Indie, and I'd like to offer you my review of South of the Circle.
Oh, here, let me help.
Oh, I think I can manage.
No, honestly, it's fine. Oh. Not as easy as it looks.
Oh dear, let me give you a hand.
Oh, no, I can do it.
South of the Circle was first released in 2020 for the Apple Arcade, and now it's out on the PC. You follow the life of Cambridge academic and cloud enthusiast Peter, who's been stuck in writing his academic paper on predicting cloud patterns and movements for the past 3 years. Peter has returned to Cambridge after receiving a telegram from his professor, and on the way he meets a fellow Cambridge instructor named Clara. Together you find yourselves navigating the politically charged academia world of the Cold War conflict, while balancing your relationship and career goals. At the same time, you're following present-day Peter in 1964, whose plane fell in Antarctica due to a strong winter storm. With the pilot's leg broken, it's up to Peter to traverse the desolate, snowy landscape to find help. And this is how the story goes. You weave between present-day survival in the snowy, desolate lands, and in the past, when you're younger and still working on your academia paper. South of the Circle can be played with keyboard and mouse or controller. I was greeted with a reminder that I could use my controller, which I took as a sign that this was the best way to play. The gameplay consists of pushing the joystick forward, holding A to look at objects, scrolling either up or down to slowly read notes, and pressing A, X, or B to respond to pieces of dialogue. When responding to dialogue from other characters, you're given between 1 to 3 options in the tone of your speech. Will you be calm, confident, panicked, or other options that are at your disposal? And each option provides a unique sound clip that, for the most part, doesn't actually change anything in the narrative. However, there are some major choices that the game remembers, and they're the ones where the dialogue format deviates. Instead of tone, you are deciding whether to go on the march or not, or whether to go out with your friends or stay in your office working on your paper. The game gives you a visual indication of "we will remember that" at the top of the screen, and these choices come back at the ending of the game to haunt you. But don't take too long in deciding what your choice will be, or the game will just pick for you. And silence is not an option. It will pick something for your character to say, so you might as well choose. There were some dialogue prompts that didn't appear at first, so waiting a few seconds would reward you with another option, but this was rare. For settings, it was great to see so many options in languages. From US English to Mandarin, there's a variety for speakers of most major languages. You can also adjust the volume for music, voice, sounds, master volume, as well as turn on subtitles, which I immediately did. You can also adjust the text size, so players of all eyesight ranges can read along. You get an explanation of all the dialogue symbols in the pause menu, specifically under the help button. I did not realize this while playing the game, so I mostly learned by trial and error. To be fair, there was a sort of tutorial at the start of the game for the dialogue options and what the symbols meant, but the situation you're in was so rife with panic that I didn't really get to fully absorb what each symbol meant. I do wish there had been a tooltip at the beginning telling me about this option in the pause menu to refresh my memory, but I also understand how this would have disrupted the distinct style these developers aimed for. Speaking of style, South of the Circle oozes it. I personally loved the visual design choices, which my best guess at describing would be geometric abstract expressionism, which would be apropos since it was once one of the counter art styles to Soviet realism, and this game is all about the Cold War period. I love the choice to keep faces somewhat vague so that the dialogue and voice acting, which was fantastic, takes the forefront of the emotional weight of each scene. On top of that, the game made use of fully motion captured performances that lend fluidity to each scene. This art style and the entire snowy premise also reminded me of an indie game I adore, The Long Dark. From the use of shadows to the careful use of color in striking the appropriate mood, to the small, almost spotlight-esque scenes, The visual design of South of the Circle is top-notch and deserves to be lauded. The voice acting is equally compelling, resembling a movie or a show more than anything I've ever seen in a video game, and especially an indie game as they often have a smaller budget. And this should come as no surprise when you see the voice talent behind these characters, featuring talents from Game of Thrones, Chernobyl, and The Crown, to name a few. The subtitles turned out to be more of a cute feature because each voice actor brings their A-game to the table in speech that is clear and personalized to every character. Each character sounds like a real person, which only pulls you into the narrative more. At times, I did wonder if this game should have gone the route of an animated film, but let's put a pin in that thought for a bit. And the audio design is nothing short of perfect. The howling Antarctic winds, the soft piano instrumentals, the rumbling of a train car, and a few horror-like moments that I won't spoil. Every sound is crisp and effective, fading to the background with how natural and immersive it is. Every single element of this game was lovingly crafted by these developers, and I have nothing but admiration for them. To achieve a movie-like experience in a video game with some abstract elements to the art is nothing short of superb. But, and here comes that but, I found a fatal flaw with the game, one that only becomes apparent by the end. For a spoiler-free version, my major critique is this. It's a game of choices, but your choices don't matter. No matter what you do, the plot has already been determined. Your input is to play with the flavor of dialogue and watch, and that is where this game deeply disappointed me. It was literally the only element that resembled a game, making choices, and even that was stripped away from the player. Is this a metaphor about the illusion of free will? I don't know, and if it is, it isn't successful, because the big question that follows, what was the point? What was I supposed to get out of this experience? Essentially, nothing mattered. And while everything quote-unquote did happen, nothing you chose mattered. And listen, I am the first to defend the artsy-fartsy, and I use those terms as words of endearment. I read and write poems. I'm one of those people. I worked in higher education, so many of the issues about academia that come up in the story I felt personally connected to. But none of that matters if, by the end of the game, it turns out my role was meaningless. I was always an observer, and interactivity is kind of a big part of video games, so it just makes me wonder what was even the point of making this a game. Even one major choice I went after again and again ended up being pointless. I hate to be so negative and leave it for the end of the review, because I know the first and last things you hear or read are what sticks. But honestly, I found this sleight of hand, this farce of choice, absolutely tarnished my experience with the game. Maybe if I had known since the beginning that my choices didn't matter, I would have just been able to mentally strap in for a video game movie. But I didn't, so the ending hit me like a ton of bricks. South of the Circle had so many thought-provoking and emotionally compelling moments in its narrative. Scenes that stirred my heart and had me leaning into the screen. But in my opinion, the ending squandered it. I do still recommend South of the Circle, but with the caveat that you know what you're getting into.
Hey, come on, wake up! Wake up! Thank God you're all right. God, my leg is jammed. It's jammed in here. Here, let me help. That's broken. Got stuck under the bloody rudder pedal. Are you sure?
We thank you so much for supporting clickbait-free content here at I Dream of Indie. We can't possibly make it without you. We would now like to take a moment to shout out our brave indie warriors that support this channel through channel memberships. At the Indie Warriors tier, we have Bill, Adriana Amato, CJR, Julian Kolbis, Ray Lynn, Marky Min, Dave Harp, Peekaboo, Lex Noyle, Christian Cruz, PSC, Solaru C, and Chic Geek. At the Indie Legends tier, we have Nathan Moore, Skeptism, Jen Rose, Chris Jackson, Mr. W, Blue Francis 14, The Beefarinis, Business Cody, Chiron, Jace Glover, King of the Hat, Ophidian Mind, Lord Metroid, Seacoil, and Larkison. Thank you so much for all that you do for independent developers, publishers, and for I Dream of Indie. Everybody else head down to the description box below. Let's defeat the gaming echo chamber and bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming.